Okay, great. So we can start.
Okay, yes, I see 50 people joined, so thank you everyone for joining. I'm super excited for the talk that we have today. I'm gonna start with a quick update on how we're doing on our global challenge on cleans, and then I'll give the word to Stephanie, which is our guest speaker today that I'm gonna introduce in a couple of minutes. So, big update. We have, as per today, 12,103 pieces collected worldwide. It's far from our target, which was very ambitious. We can still make it, so we need the push from everyone, but it's still amazing the amount of litter that we have collected so far. So this is just a call for everyone to help us reach our target. It really is, if you live in a city, in 15 minutes I collect 100 pieces because of cigarette butts and paper and plastic that I found. It's even incredible. Don't even leave my the sidewalk. I've already collected 60. It's quite crazy. So please go out and clean. It's incredible what we've done so far, but there's still a long way to go. And we're also having this competition by region, which is every day I'm checking the numbers because EMEA is on the lead, but APAC, Asia Pacific, was a couple of days ago, and they're picking up, right? EMEA is on 101 pieces per person so far. Asia Pacific is with 99, so very close by. We don't know who's going to win at the end. There's an amazing trophy that is going to be sent. I cannot reveal, but there is a surprise coming with the trophy. So the region is going to get a nice surprise for that. Then we have North America with 27 pieces per person, and India, which we need you guys. I don't know if there's a lot of Indians today, but we need you guys to pick up some litter. Then in India too, we will have 6 pieces per person there. So if we can move to the next slide. That's a little summary of what we've done on the World Cleanup Day. I had a lot of good feedback from all O9ers saying that it was a lot of fun going out as a team and participating in the challenge together. It was incredible to see many cities where we have offices that some leaders organized the outings, made partnership with local organizations, selected a collection place, and here you can see just a summary of pictures of what happened that day. Special mention on Bangalore, India, because we have so many employees there and the COVID situation, it's a little bit unstable, unfortunately, in India. We had it virtual, and we invited a stand-up comedian to give a speech. We briefed him on the online challenge, and he was encouraging all Indian O9ers to participate, making jokes that he's not expecting India to win, but at least to beat America. So that was a lot of fun. 370 people participated in India, many more in the rest of the world. So thank you all who went out and collect. I'm sure everyone had a lot of fun. And actually, yes, next slide, please, Stephanie. Here you're gonna see in the incredible work we've done so far and how all our pieces are distributed all over the world. In almost every continent, there is an O9er cleaning up. So that's amazing to see. All this map with the O9ers' efforts. And a little bit what I wanted to say in the next slide is, that we are not only cleaning, but we are partnering with Litterati because we want to get to the root cause of the problem of plastic pollution and waste management. And by registering and taking those pictures that you guys are taking, what we're doing is contributing to this big database of litter that then is used by government, by cities, by even private companies on their packaging and everything. So here you can see a little bit what we've done so far in terms of categories. The most things that we are finding, and I think it is because we are basically based in cities, it's smoking, so cigarette butts, but followed by drink and food. That explains human behavior and where do we generate more waste, right? There are other like personal hygiene, clothes, candy, but it's not as big, at least for the challenge that we're doing. That's in terms of categories. The difference between the first column and the second column, so blue and yellow, is the machine-generated tagging. So Litterati has this artificial intelligence that recognizes whatever you're picking. So it has, in yellow, it's what the machine learning has recognized, and in blue, what you guys added by hand, right? You type. So in the next slide, you will see second categorization, which is the objects that we're finding. And of course, the first one is cigarette butts, as we saw. But wrappers on the second, bottles, labels, bottle caps is the type of things that you guys are finding. Cans, tissues. So this is also sent to this database, and there are millions of people using this app around the world, which is nice to see, and we're contributing to that. And the last one is about materials, which is quite interesting also to check. Plastic and paper is what we find on our streets, on our natural spaces, and based on our challenge, this is what we've done. Cellulose acerate, this is the material of the cigarette butts. Aluminium, glass, so the cans and bottles that we've also been picking up, but basically plastic and paper as main problems. You know, plastic is not biodegradable, so but we're gonna learn a little bit more later about that. Stephanie's gonna explain a little bit more about the different plastics. And I said it was the last one, but actually there is a final slide on the brands. And the brands, the AI machine, if you go to the next slide, Stephanie, the AI, it's not working as well, so it doesn't recognize the brand when we take the pictures. But it was curious for me to see McDonald's being the first brand that we've collected in terms of litter outside, right? But you see things like Coca-Cola and Red Bull, Shell, chocolates, Marlboros, others, right? So thanks for all those pictures. Thanks for contributing to this database. And again, please use the last 9 days now to get us closer to the goal, if not reaching that goal. I haven't mentioned it, but also there's going to be a prize for the top contributors, and that you can see already in your app. Between the first and the second contributors, there's a difference of 50, 60 pieces, which is nothing. So there's quite an interesting challenge going on there too. But that's enough about online cleans. I just wanted to give you an update and clarification on the overall challenge that we are doing. But today, our guest speakers, as I was saying, is Stephanie. Stephanie is a consultant on plastic pollution and waste management, zero waste, what we call, and she's going to explain us a little bit how she lives more sustainably and how we can all be more sustainable in the way we manage our waste. So please, Stephanie, the stage is yours, and thank you very much for joining online today.
Hey everyone, and first of all, congrats to all of you. I'm impressed, and I would love to know more about that app, but I will bombard you after the talk, Carlos. That's amazing. What an achievement. And yeah, my name is Stephanie. I hope to give you some inspiration towards a more sustainable lifestyle today. And we'll tackle different topics. And yeah, I want to make it an interactive session, so it's not only a monologue and I'm the only one speaking. I would love to include you into the discussion, and we have several interactive points during the presentation. Thanks everyone thanks Carlos and Chiara for inviting me for this talk, and I'm happy to share my knowledge with you today. Yeah, welcome once more. I will give you an overview of our program today, what we will talk about. And before I tell you about our agenda, I would ask you to have your smartphone with a QR scanner next to you. If you don't have a QR scanner, no worries. I also have the links that I can share in the chat, and a piece of paper and a pen or a notebook. What we will talk about today is in the first part of our workshop today, we will talk about how Little Plant Pantry was founded. So, Carlos, I think you haven't mentioned yet, or did you in the intro mail?
No, they don't know about Little Plant, so you can.
Okay. So the reason why O9 contacted us or me is because Little Plant Pantry is a pioneer in the field of zero waste groceries. And I work with and for Little Plant Pantry for a while now. Little Plant Pantry is Amsterdam's first zero waste grocery store. And I will tell you a bit more about their story and why they founded the store and how and when I came into this whole story as well. After that, we will talk about what plastic waste actually is, and we'll talk about a bit about the history of plastic waste and what the categories of plastic waste are. And then we will look at some inspiring companies that already move towards a circular economy. And after that, we will see what we as individuals can do to reduce our plastic consumption and waste production in general. And then at the very end, I'll explain a bit about We Go Zero and what we do. And then there's time for a Q&A. And now that I say all of this, I realize how much we have on our agenda today. And Carlos, I would ask you to stop me in case we are over the time limit for one of the agenda points for today. Okay, great. All right. I hope you have your smartphone next to you and a piece of paper and pen or notebook. And I would say, let's get started. Before I tell you about the Little Plant Pantry, the intro was planned, but actually we already had the intro, so I'll just skip it and go further. So this is Maria and Winter that you see in the right corner. And Maria and Winter are pioneers when it comes to opening a completely sustainable supermarket. And when I talk about the sustainable supermarket, I mean they are selling products that are organic. All of their products are organic. They sell products from local producers. They sell only vegan products and everything package free. What does package free mean? It does not mean that there is no packaging at all, but the shop provides you all the facilities that makes it possible for yourself to buy package free. So you can go there and fill up your own bags with whatever you need. And what Maria and Winter offer at their store at Little Plant Pantry are the basics. So the essentials of food that you would need. So they have grains, they have rice, they have lentils, they have dried berries, they have a big selection of tea, penne, coffee, vegan cheese, spices, flour, cosmetic products, everything but fresh produce. So no vegetables and fruits. This they always recommend to buy on the local markets. But how did they decide to work on such an ambitious project? And when did they start and why? And this is what I want to tell you now in a little, in 2-3 minutes, how this all started. So before Winter and Maria moved to Amsterdam to open their shop, they lived in Ireland in a small cottage. And Maria has been studying literature. She already finished her second master. And Winter wasn't really working for a while. They enjoyed a very, very lonesome but happy life on the countryside of Ireland. Almost sounds like a fairy tale, but it was like that. We're writing poems and just enjoying life. And one day, when they decided to live more sustainable and more consciously, they realized how much waste they produce. And then they thought, okay, let's do something about it. So they had a little budget to start their own shop. and they decided to move to Amsterdam and open a zero-waste grocery store here. That was on the 7th of April 2019, and back then they were the first store in Amsterdam who opened their doors to consumers who want to buy package-free, vegan, and organic. And here is a quote of Maria. She said, "Establishing a business together was not something we initially envisioned, but probably it is not after all surprising that it took a couple of dreamers to start a shop like this." And this is also exactly how I know them. They are dreamers, they have a vision of a greener future, and I'm very thankful to collaborate with them. A few months after they opened, I first visited the shop with my own do-it-yourself zero waste kit, and I started talking to them, and our relationship developed. And after a few months, I started to take over their social media and their SEO strategy, and we started collaborating while I was building my own zero waste consultancy. And a few months ago, we really merged our businesses and working on a bigger plan together now. And we're working on making the Little Plant Pantry a scalable concept that can be expanded all over Europe. So that was a little intro to Maria and Winter. And if you have any questions about their story, or if you would like to comment this or just ask something, feel free to unmute yourself before we go to the next point. All right, now you got to be active anyway. I'll force you to contribute to our workshop today. So now, before I give you my definition of what plastic waste is, or our definition, I would love to hear what plastic waste is for you. And after you already collected such a huge amount of waste, I'm sure you have some ideas coming to your mind. So I would now ask you to take your phone and scan the QR code. And usually there should be a window popping up from Menti, and you should be able to fill in your answer, what plastic waste is for you. If anyone has trouble doing that, or if anyone does not have a QR scanner, let me know and I'll send the link to the chat. I'll leave this window open for another 30 seconds, and then we will look at a word cloud and see what plastic waste is for all of you. Hope everyone was able to scan the QR code. I will go to another window now. All right, there's a lot of info coming in already. Let's see. So definitely in the center of our word cloud, we see packaging. So most of you typed in packaging. We still see there's some more entries coming in. We see toxic, we see bottles, pollution, waste. Wow, that's active. Plastic wrapped cucumbers, that's interesting. Anything that's made of plastic. What else? Devil, oh, single use. Systemic problem, landfill. Avoidable, that's nice. Shame, replace, beverage. not eco-friendly wrappers. Also, feel free to unmute yourself. You can also contribute by saying what plastic waste is for you. I'll let this word cloud develop for a few more seconds. Straws. And I see toxic packaging. This is kind of the answer that most of you gave. And straws, bottles, single-use, pollution, not eco-friendly, a modern disaster. That's a nice approach as well. Cheap advertising, food packaging. All right, so we have a lot of impressions from you, and I think this definition that you all created together is already pretty good and gives us a good overview about what plastic waste is for you individually, and also what plastic waste means to our society and as humans. Unnatural. Okay, I will connect to this unnatural part and go back to our presentation. Thanks everyone for participating, and I will also download this word cloud and we'll share it with Carlos after the talk, and you can always look at it again. Okay. Let's go to the right slide. So, what is plastic waste actually, and where does it derive from? For me, a quite surprising fact when I was researching in more depth about plastic waste a few years ago was that mass plastic production began only 70 years ago. And when I heard this, I thought, okay, let's have a look at human history. And we have thousands and thousands of years, and like millions of years actually. What is 70 years of plastic production? That's not a lot. And we still have the chance to turn back the clocks if we start now. The first person that produced a synthetic plastic was Leo Baekeland, and he produced the first plastic derived from fossil fuels in 1907. And the first plastic was called bakelite. And in the 40s, so more than 30 years later, the mass production for the consumer market began. And I'm sure all of you have heard before of Tupperware, and this was one of the first mass production items that was made out of plastic, and it was launched in 1948. So the American-born Leo Baekeland, he was the first person who invented plastic without any natural ingredients. And this was why I connected to the unnatural plastic. And this is the plastic that we mostly face today. But there's also a lot of natural plastic. And let me go back a few 100 years and talk also not only about the unnatural, but also the natural plastic. When the Olmecs started to use rubber in order to build cups or bowls, or also storage for their food. So you can see there we have two different kinds of plastic, the unnatural and the natural plastic. the natural plastic is still produced today and can be is a very good alternative to unnatural plastic because it is biodegradable. Unnatural plastic is not always as bad as it seems. That's why we'll look at the 7 plastic types today. Usually, plastic can be divided into recyclable plastics and not so well recyclable plastics, and plastic that cannot be recycled at all. So basically, plastic is not our enemy, but the way we use it in a single-use way without recycling. That is something that causes more pollution, and as I could see, you already started to minimize that pollution, so that's great. Let's go to the next slide. Maybe some of you already have seen this triangle sign on a plastic packaging. And basically those triangles classify the type of plastic you're facing. And there are 7 types in general. And here on this graphic, you can see which types of plastic are usually used for which items. So mostly plastic bottles have the label 1. And then I see bottles for example, cleaning material have the label 2 because they are higher in density and they can hold more more dangerous goods, let's say. And then there's also type 3, which is more flexible plastic and could be, for example, used for plumbing pipes or clear food packaging, and also for children's toys. And then we have type 4, LDPE, and this can be used also for bread bags, newspaper bags, juice bags. So it has a low density of plastic. And then we see type 5 can be used for furniture or containers for bigger items. Type 6 is also known as styrofoam and can be used for plates or cups or containers, and also the supermarket meat trays. So maybe some of you already have thought about it, like what is styrofoam actually? Is it a material that I can recycle? And here you can see it's plastic and it's categorized with the number 6. And number 7 is bisphenol or other types of plastic. And this is, for example, like very sensitive plastic items like baby bottles. So there is not a lot of microplastic absorbed from this plastic type. Talking about microplastic, another fact that I learned about plastic is that we as consumers, in average, consume 1 credit card of microplastic a week through the packaging that we are buying with the products that we eat or drink. And that was quite shocking when I heard that. And this was a study from an Australian university, so you can Google it if you're interested in reading more. And another fact that shocked me quite a bit was that there is not a single place on Earth that is not covered by microplastic. And one more fact I'm sharing with you, there is not a single baby born that isn't like, there's not a single baby born with a microplastic in his or her body. But enough of all the horror stories. HDPE is the plastic type that can be recycled in the best way. So this is type 2. And it's also considered as the safest plastic type. Maybe this is something you can take with you for today. Have a look at your plastic packaging the next time. And if you want to learn more about the plastic types, you can also Google 7 plastic types and you will find more information about the topic.
I heard, Stephanie, also because you said they found everywhere in the world, they found microplastic in the Everest and the North Pole and everywhere. Yeah, so it's completely true. I'm just a little bit conscious of the time, so it's a little bit less than 30 minutes, and I know you have a lot of amazing information to share with us.
Okay.
I just wanted to mention that. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, and I'll speed up a bit. So let's go back to the cause of all this pollution and why there is plastic pollution all over the world. Basically, we can say that this overconsumption started in alignment with the industrial evolution, which started approximately 150 years ago, which was an explosion of innovation. And there were amazing innovations coming up, amazing products. Our economy skyrocketed, but without thinking of consequences. So it was a quite linear path that we've been walking on for the last 150 years. It was a path of resource extraction, production, distribution, consumption, and in the end there was waste. Basically meaning we are still living in a mostly linear economy. What does linear economy mean? Basically, as I just said, is make, take, and waste. So we will look at the concepts of linear and circular economy in a bit. And before we do that, I would actually like to know from you if you have heard about the term circular economy before, and if yes, what you connect to this term. Someone wants to unmute yourself or just write in the chat?
Cradle to cradle?
Yes, that's a good keyword.
I think maybe for me it's reuse as well.
Reusing, yeah.
It can be reuse, recycle, remanufacture. So there are different processes in the reverse logistics of products. So, based on how they can be used in a continuous fashion without making them a burden on the environment.
I think it's essentially the end of the life cycle of a product that is again the beginning of the life cycle of another usable product.
Exactly. And the beginning and the other way around. So we're basically going in big circles. Anyone else who would like to contribute? All right, let's go to the next slide. So here once more we see the linear economy, raw materials, production, use, and residual waste. And then on the next graphic, we can see how we can shape loops towards a circular economy. So the raw materials need to be designed already from the beginning to be circular and to be able to be recycled. So then we come into the production, the use, and then in most cases, when we transition into a circular economy, we will still have residual waste, but we are also able to recycle part of our waste already. And when we go fully circular, there should not be any residual waste at the end. And this is also the reason why I founded a zero waste consultancy to help people and businesses to really live without waste. And for many of you, that might sound impossible, living without waste. How should that function? And today, I hope we come a little step closer to this goal. And it doesn't mean to just stop having waste from one day to another. It might take years or even decades to go there, but if you have a clear mind, a clear goal in mind, then it's easier to move towards it. And this is what we are going to talk about today. But before I give you some practical tips, I would like to point out some companies who are already pioneering and being zero waste. First one is Little Plant Country that I already mentioned. Another zero waste, or another company moving towards zero waste, is Patagonia, a clothes brand who is taking responsibility of the whole life cycle of a product. Then we have Moana, who is offering refillable cleaning detergents without any microplastic in the detergent itself, and they also offer glass bottles for their cleaning detergents. And then we also have some more amazing companies like BioBean. BioBean is the largest recycler of coffee grounds, and what they do is they turn your old morning coffee into fire logs. So they use a waste product and turn it into another product that can be burned in your chimney. Then we have another company called Madasta, and Madasta is document materials, building materials, to make the reuse easier. So what they do basically is they issue material passports for buildings to collect data about the materials that are used for a building. And then once the building is at the end of the life cycle, they can make sure to recycle the materials that were used during building the property. And another big company who is enabling the growth of an industry that provides alternatives to fossil fuel is Board Now. So what they do is they build their organization around promoting alternative fossil fuels, like fuels made out of algae or special seeds from trees. And since 2011, it is legal to fly with alternative fuels with usual airplanes. And they try to enable this industry, make it grow. All right. Anyone else who maybe wants to share one inspiring company that already moves towards a circular economy?
In Barcelona, we have a beer brewery that, with all the bread stores and pastry stores, collects the leftovers and brews its beer with the leftovers of the bread. So there is zero waste of food waste, basically.
That's nice. And I've heard about such projects a lot already, that the leftovers of beer are used for other products as well.
Another one might be Peter Pot. It's super Dutch though, but it's like an online supermarket without packaging, and they will deliver products in, most of the time, glass jars to your home, and you can refill them this way.
I know maybe it's a bit different, but the Real is like a US fashion company which essentially sells secondhand clothing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really concerned about the quality that they sell. So it's not essentially circular, but it definitely contributes, I think.
All right, but they're moving towards a sustainable direction.
Yeah.
I know one more as well, which is Vinted. I'm not sure if they're 100% circular, but they, I guess, promote more of a circular kind of way of living, buying clothes secondhand.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard about them as well. That's nice. Yeah. A lot of secondhand apps are like shooting out of the ground. It's really nice to see.
There's also Met Jeans for circular, well, it's rental-based, basically jeans, but they also do sell and you bring it back to them and they shred it, and it's like an alternative for denim.
That's cool. I've seen also a lot of shops here in Amsterdam offering repair services for jeans or for clothes in general for free. So that seems to.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
well,
Levi's does that as well. I've had one of my jeans repaired.
Nice. Cool. So I see a lot of you are already involved in the topic of sustainability and zero waste. And in the next step, I would like to see what we as individuals can do eventually right now to reduce our plastic consumption and our waste in general. So
Okay, we have a little bit less than 20 minutes, so looking forward to it.
okay, that should be fine. Okay, thanks for informing me for the time. As you can see, I wrote down the 5 principles of zero waste here. I'm always letting my participants guess what the 5 R's are, but today you already see it and I will read it out loud. It's refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, and rot. And in the next 15 minutes, I would say I guide you through all those 5 principles, and we will, if we can put each of the principles into practice right now. So let's get started. And I'll go to the first slide. Refuse what you don't need. So why should we refuse items? First of all, to prevent waste. And refusing is actually the R that we should use the most often. And rotting, the last R that I just read to you, we should use the least often. So it's like a pyramid the other way around. And yeah, talking about refusing, we want to understand better what we really need, recognize our consumption and the waste that is produced by our consumption on a daily basis. So getting more conscious about our consumption and the waste that is produced by that, and also seeing the impact of saying no. And now I would like to practice this saying no with you, and I would like to ask you to now get your paper and your pen or your notebook and think of your own refuse mantra. So what do I mean when I talk about refuse mantra? For example, my crazy refuse mantra would be, no thank you, I don't want that plastic bag. My body is a temple and I don't want to consume any plastic. Many people would be very irritated by that, and I'm not asking you to write such a refuse mantra down, but maybe something like, no thank you, I'm not using single-use plastic, or I try to live more sustainable. And why are we writing this refuse mantra down? Next time you are confronted with single-use plastic, or with someone who wants to sell you something in packaging that you don't need, you can just recall a sentence that you feel comfortable with, because often saying no makes us feel uncomfortable, and we don't want anyone else to feel uncomfortable as well because of us saying no. So try to find a sentence that make makes you feel comfortable while refusing, for example, single-use plastic or any kind of packaging. Give you like half a minute or a minute to think about it. You can just keep it for yourself, or you can also share it with us in the chat, or also unmute yourself and just share the sentence with us that you wrote down. Okay, I heard there was someone writing something in the chat. Carlos, maybe do you want to read it out loud, because I cannot
Yes,
see
it was me. So perfect that you picked me. I would say, no, thank you. We do not need this or that or whatever I've been offered. And the thing here is replacing that I do not need by we do not need, as this would hopefully raise a bit of awareness. That is not my personal choice. It's actually something that we all need to refuse.
True, that's a very nice approach. Also, like, you mean also including the person who is giving that to you, like we as a society, or we as humans, or we as you and your partner. How did you mean that?
No, to appeal to the person that's offering that, and knowing there is a bunch of us, and hopefully a majority of us, that we don't want to use this type of single-use anymore.
Nice.
So not making it a personal choice, but actually a choice that we should all do. That's why I'm saying we.
Yeah, it's very inclusive. It's nice. Anyone else that would like to share his or her refuse mantra?
I can share mine.
Go ahead, Sierra.
Thank you. Mine is more personal though, and I think it's more to prevent myself from getting things I don't necessarily need. And I think that would be more telling myself or asking myself, do I really need this?
Yeah.
I think then you reflect more a bit, on what you actually need and what you might more want, but don't necessarily need, and things you can maybe live without. So that's a bit more, personal, that I might think in my head or say out loud, but maybe not say to someone else.
Well, this will also lead me then to our next slide when we talk about reducing. Thanks for sharing.
Stephanie, this is Rajesh. I wanted to share one thing from my side. So I would refuse to, let's say, typically all over the world, right? We generally at home, we drink the water from our own AquaGuard systems like that.
Mm-hmm.
But when we are outside, we use these, mineral water bottles, right? And generally what I've seen is people take larger bottles and then they just drink a sip or two, and then they just keep their water bottle. Water is so precious, and then above all that is again a plastic, and it goes both the things get wasted. It's money, energy. So what I refuse when I'm outside, I go for a smaller bottle which I can drink and I can consume and throw it away, right? So water gets saved.
Yeah.
My thirst gets my thirst goes away, and I can throw the plastic as well in the dustbin, right? So that I refuse to accept or purchase large bottles or anything which I need, as CR was saying, right? What's that you actually need versus what you really want. Like just because somebody is giving you large amount of water, you should not just take it and throw it away, right? And
exactly, and therefore you already prevent waste, and you prevent the situation of having to say no or refusing. That's a great example. Guys, I will move on to the next slide because in fact we don't have so much time anymore. Let's talk about reducing to the essentials, what we really need. And I think, Chiara, you said that with like asking yourself what you really need. And this is something that we can ask ourselves while we reduce something. Why should we reduce our items in our life? It's basically simplifying our life. Decluttering creates space, and you can basically downsize your consumption habits while you reduce your habits, because you get more aware of what you actually need and what you don't need. And where we, from experience, have the most items are in the kitchen and in the bathroom. And there you can definitely ask yourself, do I really need this item? Do I have a duplicate of this item? Do I keep this item just because of guilt, because someone gave it to me and I just don't want to throw it away? Or do I actually have this item because everyone has this item? For me, that was a aha moment when I looked into my kitchen and I realized that I never ever used a garlic press, and I just had it because everyone has a garlic press. So these are a few questions that you can ask yourself. And then after decluttering and reducing your items, you can opt to give away those items, either sell them or donate them, or just give them to someone who can need this item better or more than you. So now I would like to ask you to leave your chair and find one item that you want to give away or that you want to donate to someone who can need it more than you do. And maybe if someone wants to show it into the camera, even some of you, then that would be a nice thing to do. I cannot see you, unfortunately, because I have the presentation open on full screen. But I'm sure you see each other and might be inspired by some items that other colleagues show to the camera. All right. I don't know if someone shows a item that you would like to give away or donate, but I will move on to the next slide so we can make sure that at the end of our presentation we have some time for Q&A and you can ask some questions.
Yes, like 5 minutes, Stephanie.
Okay, the first principle is reusing what you have. So we're basically, also reusing the previous principles and diving deeper into the topic of upcycling and re-evaluating the items that you have. And therefore, I always say an item without identity is waste. But if you give this item a different identity, then it's not waste anymore. Then it just has, you just gave it a new life. And this is when we talk about upcycling. For example, you can upcycle an old door to a table. And here I would like to ask you to write down 3 items that you can replace with reusable ones or more sustainable options. Maybe you can do that after the talk, because I'll just continue to the next slide so we have time for some questions in the end. The second principle, or the second last principle of zero waste, is recycling. And what is the purpose here is that we should recognize recyclable materials. And there I have a homework for you. I would like to ask you to investigate your trash and sort your waste and really recognize recyclable items. Keep them separated, like glass, paper, plastic, tin cans, whatever you can find in your waste. Just be conscious about it and see what kind of items you can recycle. Last but not least, most important thing for me, and also the core of zero waste, is rotting. And rotting is directly connected to composting. So many of you might think now, how can I compost? I live in a small apartment in a huge city. It's not possible for me to compost. And here we'll say, no, that's not true. Everyone can compost, and you can use a method that is called bokashi composting. And maybe I can share it with Carlos, and if you're interested, you can always ask for how you write that. It's a Japanese form of fermenting food waste, and you find plenty of options on the internet where you can buy your own bokashi compost. It doesn't smell. You can compost any kind of waste, even meat or cheese or oil, and it's a very good way of fermenting your food waste. But then you need to bring the compost somewhere, and this is where I would love to see you involved in your local composting community and connect to projects that also grow their own vegetables within cities, and it's fun. All right, that were the 5 principles of zero waste, and I hope I could give you some information. There's some more information that I would like to share. We have swap lists, we have a little zero waste pharmacy, and all kinds of documents and templates that you can use. So here you can download your key takeaways through this QR code. And guess why there is a cake and a teacup on the right side? Because I always say tea takeaways, because obviously I'm thinking about tea and cakes all the time. No, key takeaways. You can download your knowledge base here through this QR code.
I'll share the presentation with everyone, and what Stephanie is sharing with us is super valuable. The templates and the tips that I encourage everyone to deep dive in the folder.
Cool. And also some initiatives that you can join to be more sustainable is Ellen MacArthur Foundation, who really supports like businesses being more circular. Fridays for Future, I'm sure most of you heard about it. Alliance to End Plastic Waste, the Ocean Cleanup, or Precious Plastic. Because, as I said, plastic is not the enemy, but the way we use it. All right. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer the questions now. And thanks very much for listening and for participating and sharing your thoughts and ideas. And I hope it was a bit inspirational.
Yeah, Stephanie, I would like to thank you in the name of O9 for being with us today. It was super insightful. Unfortunately, we ran out of time, and some people had to drop, but if you have still 2-3 minutes, maybe someone that still here can
sure
ask a question.
And you can also ask me via email always, if you have any more questions.
Thank you. Maybe I can ask you one. You've been living zero waste for 8 years, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I've been living very sustainable for 8 years, but zero waste for 2 years.
2 years. Oh,
yes.
Okay. And what was the most difficult part of it? I mean, is it going out with friends, or is it at home, or what? Where was your biggest struggle to become a zero waste person?
My biggest struggle were actually unexpected situations where, for example, all of a sudden I ran out of water and there was no refill, and I was like struggling. Either I'm very thirsty now for the next hours, or I'll just buy a plastic bottle. And in these times I was very extreme, and I just did not buy a plastic bottle to have some water, and that was kind of challenging. And also producing my own zero waste products was very challenging, because all of the ingredients that I used were again packaged in plastic, and it was hard to find shops where I can buy those ingredients in bulk. And that's why we started with our zero waste maps and our do-it-yourself zero waste cosmetic, to make it easier for other people to live zero waste.
Thank you. Anyone else before we close?
No question, but I also want to thank you, Stephanie. It was very, very interesting and inspirational.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Stephanie, and thanks everyone for participating. We'll share the slides and the resources that Stephanie has prepared for us.
Perfect. So this is my email address, hello@wecozero.co, if you would like to know more or if you have any questions. And this is always the last slide that I would like to share with all of you. Nature does not hurry and everything is accomplished. Thank you very much, and I'll stay here for another few minutes. If anyone has a question, I'll be here for a bit more.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thanks, everyone.